Jane Vandale, I hope I said that correctly, Analytics Director of Bond Brand Loyalty Canada. Jane, are you ready? And do you have control of your slides?
I am ready, but I don't believe I do have control of my slides.
Let's just make sure.
I'll be controlling the slides for you. Just mention next. Yeah,
okay.
Thank you.
Yep,
Okay,
perfect.
All right, Jane.
Excellent. All right, so my name is Jane Vandale, as I've been introduced. What I'm going to talk to you today about is finding the right audience for Nicorette gum using a customer-centric, data-driven, and behavioral science-backed approach. Next slide, please. I'll walk you through our main hypothesis and what led us to our targeting strategy, how that was implemented through the campaign, and then I'll leave you with what's next for Nicorette, given some of the findings that we've seen of this campaign. Next slide. So our original hypothesis was predicated on the idea that if you can understand the quitting journey and where you are at that quitting journey, will ultimately be predictive of how receptive a customer will be to Nicorette messaging. So when we think about the quitting journey, earlier on, perhaps in some of the earlier attempts, a customer is more receptive to learning about product benefits, understanding the product. The CTA then being learn more. But later on, when you're more likely to have a successful quitting attempt, what you start to do is driving those product benefits to align with life goals, thus creating a greater motivation and greater receptiveness to Nicorette messaging, CTA being buy now. Next slide, please. The way that this rolled up to our targeting strategy was being able to define readiness to quit through semantic data, so how customers were searching and interacting online, prioritizing that audience through demographic data that was also received by identifying key behavioral drivers correlated with smoking, and ultimately leveraged our targeting strategy where we tried to identify key motivators and key psychological factors that would resonate the quit smoking message. What this amounted to is 3.4 million users who were targeted using the programmatic ad campaign. And we ran with two key psychological triggers, one around young families, so quitting for someone else, and quitting for yourself around affordability and financial impact of smoking. Next slide, please. So with this campaign, 3 pieces of content ran. The first targeted towards young families, the second around affordability messaging, and the third was a control piece. So it ran for each one of the finalist campaigns. What we found is that the content targeted at young families over-indexed across some of the key metrics around visibility and engagement, and was also the most cost-effective around that engagement. It also created positive brand lifts around perceptions for positive brand association, affordability, and an increased willingness to quit. Next slide, please. What was also super interesting is as part of those results, actually 22% of those targeted audience members self-identified as smokers. And in the UK, where the ad was run, actually 11% incidence of smoking occurs, which means that using a targeting strategy like this means that you're twice as likely to correctly speak to a smoker than you would be issuing a mass campaign. Next slide, please. So where do we go from here? I'm going to focus around our recommendation around 2 key messages, and it is being able to map, quantify, and truly understand the quitting journey and what role Nicorette plays within that journey for the customer, and continuing to drive down on the attitudinal factors that impact willingness to quit. Next slide, please. So our recommendation is focused around 3 key areas, and the key items around this recommendation is that we're shifting away from the reliance on third-party data to data collection using own technology and data assets in order to better understand our customer base and identify opportunities that can come from there. This looks across 3 phases. First, building out the data foundation. So focusing as the website as a collection point for data. So either through allowing customers to volunteer their information, either through signing up for a newsletter, issuing a sample, signing up for a smoking related resource. And that way we're future-proofing our solution so that we're owning our data and that we're able to move through with a strong foundational layer. When we think about optimization, once we finish gathering additional data, we want to be able to use that to map and quantify the consumer journey as it relates to Nicorette. We also want to be able to use our technology assets, such as our website, in order to garner some of the engagements across content to understand what is resonating with customers and what isn't. Thus, being able to identify both the key interception points that is best to talk to and speak with this customer, as well as key triggers that might allow us to provide different opportunities for Nicorette. The final piece is, as we think about ongoing engagement, thinking about that user experience. So currently today, there are a tremendous amount of great resources available on the Nicorette website, and a lot of traffic that is driven through to that website. The issue is as we put out content, we want to make sure we're also getting something back. So making sure that today, a lot of those resources are static. What we want to do is make sure that they are interactive pieces so that we're able to capture important metrics such as how long customers are looking at different types of content, how they're engaging with it, so that as we create both a positive brand experience at those different interaction points, we're also getting something back that is ultimately going to feed our data strategy. Next slide, please. So how it works. One of the key things I want to drive home here is that our belief is that we should shift the strategy away from pure acquisition into more of a retention-based strategy. And I know that sounds a little bit strange thinking about a product that is used for quitting. So let me elaborate. This means is what we want to be able to capture all of that market share, all of that spend that is associated with the customer's quitting journey, wanting to be able to shift that to Nicorette. So by looking at the early part of this journey through welcoming and onboarding, so education across different brand benefits, introduction to key brands and features, and then creating that opportunity to solicit that data from that customer, and then beginning the journey through soliciting communications, watching that ongoing engagement, and identifying again, what are the key items and key experiences that are going to drive an understanding of the product. And then most importantly, using the opt-out as a key information point of that journey. So if a customer opts out of this communication, is it because they've successfully quit? Or is it because the content no longer resonates? And again, using all of those interaction points with the customer as things that continue to inform our journey. So I'll leave you there with that today. And that ultimately, I'll be available for additional questions. Thank you so much for your time.